Welcome to a early morning edition of the Carriker Chronicles. All right, the People's Show, brought to you by DPS Concrete Construction. They are your local concrete experts and CarrikerChronicles.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just where all your Husker sports hopes and dreams will come true. I kind of like this going live thing, but if you're like me, all right, and you're cautious for very good reason. It's hard to prevent the off-season Kool-Aid from flowing and being strong, but if you're cautious, but it's legit excited. All right, I use the word legit because it's not just conjured up, not just because you want to be, but you're legit excited about the transfer portal class, which is currently, right now, at the moment I'm recording this video, number 6 in the country, number 1 in the Big Ten. All right, and the most amount of transfer portal players we've ever brought in here at the University of Nebraska in one offseason is 16. Probably going to be more than that this year. But if you're legit excited about this transfer portal class, again, number 6 in the country, number 1 in the Big Ten, and you like the offseason moves that Matt Rule has made so far in general, smash the like button. Now, Nebraska's brought in over 30 portal visitors so far this offseason. Classes don't start until January 21st, so there's going to be more. You never know when more news is going to break. All right, make sure you subscribe. Ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of the stuff we're doing here on the Carriker Chronicles. Plus, you never know when I'm going to go live. It might be 6 a.m. It might be 10 at night. I'm going to start doing some interviews here in the next couple of weeks that I'll be trying to do weekly throughout the off season at some point. Okay. And yes, as always, in the comments, some of your questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, and or otherwise. Dwight Rowe already said the offseason Kool-Aid is exciting again. We always win the offseason. Ladies and gentlemen, we are undefeated in the offseason. But genuinely, I do like a lot of the things. It's hard not to get excited when you see the talent that is coming in. Number 6 transfer portal class, number 1 in the Big Ten. Okay, it's hard not to get legit excited. Then when you think about Dana Holgorsen as the offensive coordinator, John Butler's got a heck of a resume, got to prove himself to the fan base, got to do it as a defensive coordinator along with this phenomenal resume. It's hard not to get excited, though. And I'm going to give an update. Here's what this show is about. Okay, brought in a big-time offensive tackle, got to commit yesterday. I'm going to talk about Elijah Pritchett here in a minute. Other portal updates, special teams coordinator update, and then we're going to talk about a whole other plethora of things as well. Let's start with, all right, Nebraska football has picked up some help in the offensive line. We have a major position of need, an offensive tackle, specifically offensive line in general. But former Alabama offensive tackle Elijah Pritchett is committed to the Huskers. All right, he has 2 seasons of eligibility remaining. Big dude, 6'6", 327 pounds. He was rated the number 4 offensive tackle in the transfer portal. I redshirted in 02, played in 26 games over the past 2 seasons down in Tuscaloosa. In 2023, he played on special teams and rotated in with the offensive line as well this past fall. He started out at left tackle, moved to right tackle, played in all 13 games, started 10 games, a 5-star prospect out of high school. All right, he chose Alabama over Florida State, Georgia, USC, and several other blue bloods as well. Now, when he was brought in, I put out a tweet basically saying, and he hadn't committed yet, basically saying this was a huge position of need as the offensive line, as we all know. And if we could get him, it would be, and I quote, an important addition. All right, if you look at the top right there, or towards the middle top, I said important addition. Now, someone was like, Adam, I don't know if this is a good addition or not if he does commit. Now he's committed. I said, it's a position of need. He's very talented. So I stand by these words. It is an important addition. At that point, it comes down to coaching. Now, this is the dude who was top 100 in the entire country coming out of high school when it came to being highly rated, one of the top offensive tackles in the entire country. His ceiling is as high as any ceiling of any player we have on the team, honestly. It's right up there with Dylan Raiola-esque when it comes to ceiling. Now, got to look at the whole picture, not just the corner of the picture that we want to see because we want to feel good in the offseason. 31 pressures last year. He allowed 6 sacks, also 2 misdemeanors as well. If you want to learn more about those, there's this thing called Google. But just putting that out there, there was 2 brush-ups with the law as well. Alabama papers weren't incredibly fond of him, okay, at times. Now, you look at the stats as an overall whole. Statistically, he was the offensive lineman at Alabama that struggled the most. Like Caden Proctor, the left tackle, allowed 13 pressures, Jaden Roberts, 11, Tyler Booker, 10, Wilcom Formby, 8, Elijah Pritchett, 31. And he allowed 6 sacks. Now, when you look at his Pro Football Focus grades, okay, his pass blocking grade of 44.8. That's not what you want, just FYI. A run blocking grade of 51.8, which is slightly better, still not phenomenally phenomenal. So what do I think of this? It's an important addition. It's our biggest position of need by far is offensive line, specifically offensive tackle. Gunnar Gertula's back. What are you going to get out of Turner Corcoran coming back from injury? Love the dude. What are you going to get? Same with Teddy Prohaska. Love the dude. Hope they can contribute. But what's realistic at this point? Okay, I hope they can play, contribute, and can help. But you can't count on them at this point as much as I'm rooting for them. And even Gunnar got to put on a little bit of size and strength, athletic kid with experience now. Right, going to be a sophomore next year. You got nobody proven. Like legit proven. Now, I do think Gunnar's one of our 5 best offensive linemen. And I do think they're going to have to find a way to get him on the field, regardless of what happens with the offensive tackle position, the transfer portal position, and the like. Okay, here's what I think of Pritchett. I think it's going to come down to coaching. It's coaching. Terrell Farley called me yesterday, right? Nebraska Football Hall of Famer. Does a phenomenal job with the show on the ticket, along with Rashawn Jackson. He goes, I believe he said he went to his same high school, same area, same conference. I believe he said same high school, and he had people from where he grew up, T. Farley did, calling him like, hey, this is what you need to know. This is what you know about this guy. This is what they know about this guy. His words to me was he's a real MFer. All right, so what I took that to mean was he's got a bit of an attitude on the field, maybe a little bit of a one-off, and it's going to take a real dude to keep him in line and coach him, and that's Donovan Raiola. In my opinion, Raiola, it's his 4th year as an assistant coach. He's been here longer than anybody else as a coach, including head coach Matt Rule. It's his 3rd year. Everybody else is either 3, 2, or 1 years here. Donovan's 4. It's about time we put a good offensive line on the field. We've got size. We had offensive linemen who were like 6'8", 6'9". I actually went through the average size of our offensive linemen going into last year, the projected starting 5 on offense, 6'7.5", 314 pounds. Got good size. Adam, there were injuries. You do realize Ohio State's missing 40% of their starting offensive line, including the Remington Award winner at center, is out. They're finding a way to get it done. Here's my point. We've got size. Last year, we had the 5th most experienced offensive line in the entire country. We have guys who are highly touted. Bryce Benhart, #1 player in the state of Minnesota. Turner Corcoran, I know he's been hurt, but was it the All-American game? Actually, with was it Ty Robinson, or was that Benhart coming out of high school? But Corcoran was at the All-American game. Like, we've had highly recruited, highly touted, big-sized guys with experience. It's time we put a good offensive line on the field. That's up to Donovan Raiola, who I'm rooting for. It has not happened yet. I think it's time. And I think Elijah Pritchett is a guy with his highest ceiling. If I'm being honest, his lower floor, he's proven his floor is at a certain level as anybody on our team, though. And it's going to be up to Elijah to straighten out some of the off-field problems and get going on the field. And a lot of that's going to come down to coaching. And that's the O-line coach, Donovan Raiola. Now, let's talk about some of the other potential transfer portal additions. This guy intrigues me a lot. Okay. There's a Louisville offensive tackle who just entered the portal as well. But Shaiz Pete, all right, out of New Mexico State. Physical stats. He stands at an impressive 6'8" and weighs 300 pounds. He's a guy with starting experience, 1st team all-conference, all right, a season ago at Conference USA. So he's had a notable career. Started 15 games at left tackle in 2023, helping the Aggies to a 10-5 record since 2023, which is their best performance in years, honestly. All right, now he was banged up a little bit a season ago, but 1st team all-conference, 1st team all-Conference USA, and was named to the 2024 Lombardi watch list, an accolade given to promising linemen and linebackers before he was banged up. This dude was in Lincoln. If you could maybe get Pete to be our starting left tackle, Gunnar Gertula could be in that battle, left, right tackle. I don't care. If you got to move him to guard, move him to guard. Elijah Pritchett at right tackle. If he earns, you got to earn the job still, in my humble opinion. And then you got Corcoran and Prohaska possibly coming back. You could actually have some legit starters at tackle. You could have some depth at tackle, depending on who wins the job, who doesn't. All right, you look at the guard position. You got Henry Letufsky. All right, I know he's going to miss spring ball, but you got Henry Letufsky, who should be a starter, should earn that job coming back. You got Justin Evans-Jenkins, who can start at center or guard. You got Grant Bricks, right, who's now, he redshirted a year ago, one of the top offensive lineman recruits coming out of high school a couple of years ago. You would have Preston Tamoa. I hope I'm saying his name right finally. Him and Grant were both 4-stars. They're both now redshirt freshmen. They redshirted a year ago. I mean, these dudes, when they walked on campus, were 6'5", 310 was Grant. All right, Preston was 6'4", 325, #1 player coming out of the state of Hawaii. Both these guys could fight to earn starting jobs at the guard position. If they don't earn the starting job, they can add depth inside. Okay, and depending on, we have to bring another interior lineman on the team or offensive tackle, move somebody to guard. You could have a couple of really good starters at tackle. You got Latufsky, Jenkins. You bring in a transfer portal guy to earn the starting job, or Grant Bricks, or Tamua. They earn the starting job, but then you've also got depth, potentially. This is what it could potentially look like. But what do we get out of Pritchett? How much better is Gatula? What does Corcoran look like? What does Prohaska look like? Can we get Pete to come from New Mexico State? Do we bring in another interior offensive lineman? Right now, we've still got holes. There could be potential 5 solid good starters with depth if things play out right. But again, a lot of that's going to come down to coaching. It's time Donovan Raiola put a good offensive line on the field in his 4th year as the offensive line coach, and nobody's rooting harder for it than I am. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a couple other potential transfer portal additions. Oh, yes, Louisville starting offensive tackle Monroe Mills has filed paperwork to enter the transfer portal, Pete Nakos. So this is via Pete Nakos. Okay. The former Oklahoma State and Texas Tech transfer has played 2,335 career snaps and only allowed 4 sacks. So there's another good potential offensive tackle that could join us as well. All right, send in your questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, or otherwise. Let me get to a couple. All right, so Mike, Adam, did you see the Sean Callahan put in an RMP for another wide receiver? Yes, basically he projected another wide receiver to come. Oh, I did want to mention real quick, Marcus Watson-Trent. He's been committed to Nebraska for a while. The Sun Belt Conference Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know if people knew this. Remember when Georgia Southern came into Memorial Stadium and beat us? Yes, I know. I try to block that from my memory bank too. He played on that team, and he led Georgia Southern in tackles. What was this, 3 years ago, 4 years ago? Something like that, with 10. So he's been a good, solid player, because I hear people saying, oh, he's at a lower level. How good can he be? Maybe his ceiling isn't as high. Maybe it is. I do remember DeMarcus Ware came from Troy. Okay, just first name off the top of my head that I could think of. But he's a football player, and he's going to be great between the tackles. We got athletic outside linebackers like Vincent Shavers and the like. You plug him in the middle, he can be a solid football player and tackler in the middle. So Jonah Wilson is the wide receiver that you were referring to. 6'2", 200 pounds, D Shorts. And so he went to Houston. D Shorts was his main recruiter at Houston. D Shorts goes to Kentucky. Now he's here. He's our wide receivers coach. This dude was a 4-star coming out of high school. He's now projected to come to Nebraska and commit. This wide receivers room is beyond loaded. Without him being here, you add him, it's like, oh my God, we've got talent now, impact players now, and we've got potential depth and starters to develop even more with talent for the future. All right. Another, let's see, Steve Wolfong has logged predictions for Huskers to land Arizona transfer quarterback Marquise Groves Killebrew. He's been a few places, all right, Texas A&M, Louisville, Arizona. Now he's predicted to come to Nebraska. I saw somebody the other day, I think it was a TikTok video, updated intro videos for NFL players. And it was like NFL players. It was somebody pretending to be an NFL player. Adam Carriker, Arizona, New Mexico State, Florida, Timbuktu U, New Hampshire, Alabama, Broncos, because everybody transfers a lot now. Bad joke. I know, I digress. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Oh, before I do that, I do think, like, let's say Pete comes in from New Mexico State, starts at left tackle, or Monroe from Louisville. We've obviously got Pritchett. Maybe he starts at right tackle if he earns it. If Gunnar Gatula, who I believe is one of our 5 best O-linemen, but he doesn't start at tackle, you got to find a way to get your 5 best guys on the field. Put him at guard. Then you got Evans Jenkins and Latufsky and Bricks, and you got 2 more. You got all these guys plus a potential transfer portal guy. We'll see how it all plays out. It's potentially exciting depending on what happens and who gets developed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, DPS Concrete Construction. They are your local concrete experts. They do a phenomenal job. They're located in Omaha, the Nebraska base, and Jason Armstrong runs the company. If you want concrete work done, dpsconstruction.net, ladies and gentlemen. This is the type of work you do. Go to dpsconstruction.net. Hit up Jason Armstrong. Tell him Adam sent you. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Also, Bonzel Pool and Spa. Check them out at bonzelpool.com. If you want hot tubs, pools, saunas, they're the folks to get them put in. If you want to get them put in this spring or summer, get on the list now. Go to bonzelpool.com. If you already had the aforementioned said items, saunas, pools, and hot tubs you need it taken care of, there are the folks to do that as well. They do my family's hot tub and pool. We don't have a sauna. Personally, I get way too hot. Some people love it, but I digress. Go to bonzopool.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me get caught up in my notes here. So this is from Husk, guys. All right. Like 2/3 of stuff I'm reading today are my own notes, but I do like to patrol the social media. So if you ever fall behind, I will put that up to the screen. Where we're live, I'm not making my wife actually put it into the video. Matt Rhule in the last year has endured a new president, new AD, OC, DC, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, going to have a new special teams coordinator, tight ends coach, second new DBs coach, defensive line coach, roster limit cuts, having to get rid of 40, 50 players. And I think we're up to 15 incoming transfers right now, 15 or 16, okay, and counting, 20 freshmen. And he goes, I don't even know what else, but God bless him for navigating the ship the right direction through it all. God bless him for navigating the ship. I do believe we're going the right direction, but we'll see how that goes. But my gosh, being an FBS college football coach now is insanity in my mind. So I agreed with that. A little bit of special teams coordinator update. And I want to give a shout out to Steve Sipple for this. He has said that based on his knowledge, Mike Eckler, who has Nebraska ties, born and raised in this great state, coached at Nebraska, coached under Bo Pelini, now at Tennessee. He's considered one of the top 5 special teams coordinators in America. Okay, I saw him ranked number 5 in a publication the other day. Top 5. He said he has interest in this job. If Matt Rhule would have offered it to him, he'd be very interested. Well, it seems like a home run hire to me. Here's some stats. As you probably have heard, we had 10 different block kicks this year. All right, six field goals / PATs and 4 punts. All right. Mike Eckler, in his last 4 years at Tennessee, his team has had 1 block kick total. Now, that's not even what impresses me the most, because you got to remember, like Nebraska, we get nothing out of our return game. 4.7 yards per punt return. Now, when you compare that to Eckler and his punt returned, all right, let me find this here, had over 1,000 punt return yards in the past 4 years. If I remember right, I think it was like 1,324 punt return yards over the past 4 years. Just a little bit better than what Nebraska has been able to do. So I think that could be a potentially home run hire right there. Here's some other names I'm going to throw out there. Sean Snyder, who, Bill Snyder's son, was a special teams coordinator at Kansas State. He was a special teams coordinator of the year 2015, 2017. Right now, he's kind of semi-available. He's at Oklahoma State. He's working with punters and kickers. Okay, but if he got a call to be a special teams coordinator, I'm willing to bet he'd be interested. I know Bill Bush's name gets brought up a lot. That would be a home run hire. Just don't think it's going to happen. Okay, I do think Mike Eckler would be phenomenal. Sam Cook, former Nebraska punter, 16-year NFL punter with the Ravens. He's on staff as one of their special teams coordinators, not the head guy, but like a special teams assistant coach. He's preparing for the playoffs right now. He's actually I'm going to interview him on my Adam Carriker show on 93.7, The Ticket, this Friday, tomorrow. So check that out. But I spoke with him. I wondered if they just bring him in any sort of way to help coach on special teams. He said he's not had a conversation with Matt Rhule, so that does not seem likely. Baylor quality control special teams coach Mark Scott has direct ties from Houston and West Virginia with Dana Holgorsen. So that's someone to keep your eyes on as well. All right. I think I'm caught up on all that, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to a couple of random news items here. Former Stallions quarterback, UFL, and MVP, and Adrian Martinez. And actually, this is via former Husker. All right. And a major guy in the SEC now, as far as basketball goes, Garth Glissman on X. All right. Has signed a future deal with the Jets. So shout out to Adrian Martinez. You know, speaking of a lot of things that Matt Rhule's been through, I guarantee you've probably seen this on social media. But I agree. It would be pretty cool if we could get this version of Matt Rhule. All right. At one point at Baylor, he had won his last 38 games when leading entering the fourth quarter. That included games at Baylor and Temple. I think that would be pretty cool. All right, Abby Barmore mentioned that 4 former Huskers, Nebraska volleyball players, return or stay in Nebraska to play professionally. And I actually talked about this earlier this week on my social media. You can follow me on all the platforms, Facebook, X, TikTok, and the Gram. All right, Caitlin Hord, Allie Battenhorst, Lindsey Krause, and Kayla Caffey. So they're going to be playing with the Omaha Supernovas. So I thought that was pretty cool. I should mention Cortez Mills is standing out at the high school all-star game that he's playing at. He's been mentioned by a couple of publications, standing out in practices there. And of all the incoming freshmen, I think guys like Dawson Merritt, Cortez Mills, they have a potential of playing right away. And Matt Rule has said we need some of them to potentially play and contribute right away, sooner rather than later. All right. Let's see what else we've got here. I should mention, because I'm curious to see what happens with the running back position, because right now it's Emmett. I know Matt Rule likes Quentin Ives. I think Dana Holgerson does as well. Maybe that's the 1-2 punch. You still need 3 backs. And I know we got a couple of freshmen coming in. There are talented other guys in that room, but you've got to have 3 backs because you got to have 2 fresh for every game so they can rotate, especially if one gets banged up. So you have to have 2 for every game, which means you got to have 3 in case somebody's out. So they haven't brought in a single transfer portal running back. So I wonder if there's somebody else in that room they like. They must really like Quentin Ives. Classes don't start till January 21st, so we'll see if they bring anybody else in as far as a running back situation. They haven't brought anybody in yet, but I'm curious to see how that plays out. I hadn't mentioned this at all because I've not confirmed it. But I've had several people ask me, why Dante Dowdell leave? So, a little bit of rumor and innuendo. There's a particular source who's fed me information, and they've been very, very reliable over time. But they told me this, but they never double-checked it, and I never confirmed it, so I've never shared it. So this is not confirmed. What I was told from this source, right after Dante was announced going into the transfer portal, was that Michigan offered him $400,000. Now, he didn't go to Michigan, so maybe it's not true, or maybe Kentucky offered more. And if that's the case, with all due respect, I'm not sure why. And I do mean that respectfully. I wish you to stay. It didn't happen that way. It's a little bit of rumor and innuendo, but from a trusted source who's been good to me over time. But again, I've not confirmed that. People keep asking me, why Dante leave? Why Dante leave? There's speculation, if you will. All right. Here's some final things here. All right. If you didn't know, Dan Campbell, Iowa State head coach, is rumored to be, he's expected to interview for the Bears job. All right. Northern Illinois is going to be going to the Mountain West Conference football only in 2026. Geography means nothing in college football anymore. This was funny. Would Greenland State University play in the SEC or Big Ten? Because geography means nothing. I don't know if that's a good joke or not. I thought it was funny when I saw it. All right, what else we got here? If you're having a rough time, and I know I was going to share this on a New Year's show, but I took a little bit of a break. Here's a picture of Baker Mayfield, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, #1 overall pick in the draft. That's when he was with the Panthers playing as a scout team DN. You want to talk about humiliating and degrading. Okay, now, and then he goes to the Browns, and then they trade him. And when they trade him, they said, and I quote, "We need an adult to play quarterback," end quote. So that didn't end great. Baker Mayfield is having what would be the Browns' best Browns quarterback season of all time. 4,279 pass yards, 39 touchdowns, 15 INTs. And now he is a franchise quarterback with the Bucs, just signed a big deal, led them to 2 straight division titles with the Buccaneers, and he's a bona fide franchise quarterback. Yeah, I'm sharing a lot of stuff on social media today. The first half of the show is pretty much my research. Everything else was getting caught up from stuff I hadn't shared over time. If that's not enough, all right, you remember Kyle McCord, who transferred from Ohio State? I have it on good authority. They said leave. He led all of FBS last year in passing. It wasn't Cam Ward. It wasn't Jackson Dart. It wasn't Shadur Sanders. Kyle McCord, 4,779 pass yards a season ago. He's now the record holder for most passing yards in a season. Okay, 36 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and a top 15 QBR. My point is, if you had a rough, and I know this is a little bit belated and delayed when it comes to New Year's resolutions, but if you had a tough 2024, sometimes a fresh start is all you need. Let's see what else we got here. I'm going to take Notre Dame over Penn State. Penn State played New Year's Eve. Notre Dame didn't play till January 2nd. They're still going to have a full 7 days to get ready for the game tonight, but Penn State had 2 extra days. This isn't like a 23-day layoff like all those 4 teams had that had buys and it hurt them. I wonder if the 2 extra days helps Penn State, but I'm still taking Notre Dame. I got Ohio State over Texas. Texas just isn't very good offensively, but they've had a little – Ohio State changed their offense after Michigan. Now there's 2 games worth of film, and I'm wondering if Texas can keep it close. I just don't think they can score enough to win. And when it comes to the NFL playoffs, give me the Vikings over the Rams. Give me the Bucks over the Commanders, my former team that kind of hurts. The Eagles over the Packers. The Bills over the Broncos. The Ravens over the Steelers. And the Chargers over the Texans. That's right. I took 5 favorites and 1 underdog. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here are my questions for you fine folks at home, if I can locate them real quick. Oh, Nebraska basketball. 15-point lead. And in the second half, lost to Iowa. Bad refs, bad calls. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. It's still going to be a fun season with Fred Hoiberg and the boys. Check out CarrikerChronicles.com. As always, it's where all your Husker sports hopes and dreams will come true. Here are my 3 questions for you fine folks at home. Number 1, who do you have winning the college football national title this year? Number 2, do you still feel good about Nebraska basketball like I do? And number 3, will our O-line be good next year? Will we have a good offensive line? All right. And yes, James Wyatt, I do think they should put a cap on college football and implement contracts as well. 1.21 gigawatts, ladies and gentlemen, 88 miles an hour. Have a great day. Oh, go Big Red. And always remember, so early I almost forgot to throw the bug.